and welcome to Fresh Face Comics, the comic book podcast where a lifelong comic book reader guides his friend through the world of comics for the first time. My name is Joey Morgan, the aforementioned lifelong reader. With me, as always, is Jacob Licklider, the aforementioned newbie.
So, do you think Matt Murdock identifies a little too much with the Stephen Sondheim musical company? Because I do.
I had not considered that before, but I suppose it's extremely possible.
Listen, I may or may not have been listening to Company for no reason whatsoever than just its company. And I could not get the idea of Matt Murdock as Bobby out of my head.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. God damn it. Anyway, speaking of Matt Murdock,
I told you it was going to be one of the weirdest bits.
Yeah, that was one of the weirder ones. Anyway, we're talking about Daredevil today. We're continuing our Daredevil by Frank Miller and block of 2 episodes. This time talking about volume 2 of said run, being Daredevil's number 173 to 184. We got 12 issues ahead of us today. Let's get into it.
12 issues and a movie. And a movie
because we did watch some adapted material for it, or you did at least.
Yeah.
I subjected myself to that film for the first time earlier this year, and it's not good. Anyway, non-spoiler section first. Jacob, what is volume 2 of Daredevil by Frank Miller and Klaus Janson about?
Well, you see, Joey, we seem to still be in that weird alternate dimension where Frank Miller is a fantastic writer.
Yeah.
I think this volume is the best thing I've read from Frank Miller.
It very much is, yeah.
It's not perfect. It has some problems. Oddly enough, one of them is, I think, partially the fault of one Roger McKenzie, who's back for one issue late on in the collection.
Yeah. See, I don't think that's actually him back. I think it's just like a script by Roger McKenzie.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Yeah.
But Miller now has full writing control and full art control.
Mm-hmm.
I will say
it's the only volume where he's credited on writing and art, for the entire volume.
Yeah. I have a feeling, well, the art doesn't ever bleed into Frank Miller art territory.
Miller art TM.
TM, yeah. I do think, oddly enough, I think because he's also writing, he is a little crunched.
A little bit.
And I can forgive
but he still
him
has
for
some
that.
phenomenal moments.
Oh, it is still good art. It is still good art. It's still stylized. It's just, in a lot of places, it has to be a little simpler because he doesn't have as much time.
Yeah. That said, I will say he never fucking slacks on the layouts in this.
No, he's very
his
good.
page layouts are so fucking good. Crazy.
He makes it so readable too.
Oh yeah, totally.
Again, so weird to be saying this about Frank Miller.
Yeah.
But it's fantastic. This is also it's an ongoing run. It's a lot of these threads are very nicely woven together. Bar again, kind of that one issue that
I will say, I think Miller still finds a really interesting way to.
He finds an interesting way
to weave that back into the story that he's telling.
Yeah. But the first half of that issue in particular is
a
bit rough because it goes sort of into the we're doing a PSA. It picks up on a lot of threads. You cannot read volume 2 without volume 1. You definitely need volume 1.
At the very least, the last couple issues of volume 1.
I'd say even more, maybe even more than that. Also, I'm going to say it, there's some Marvel Universe crossovers that I wasn't expecting.
Why not, Jacob? Why would you not expect such things?
Because, look, I know it happens, it just seems to happen when we have any of these runs. It happens when we do Perez's Wonder Woman, too. I'm just not expecting these characters to cross over, even though, they live weird in the same universe.
Yeah, it's weird because, so much adapted comic book media is so, isolated.
Yeah.
So it's when you read, this is a solo Daredevil run. It's no. It's still, in the Marvel Comics universe. These crossovers are going to happen, all the fucking time, realistically. But a show like Daredevil, or a movie like Daredevil as well, is, it's so solely focused on just that character and the immediate characters surrounding him. That I guess you just
Yeah.
don't imagine those things immediately when you're going in to read the comics if you're mostly familiar with the adapted material.
Yeah, it's that, and it's just one of those. It's one of those things that can become a problem, but I think Miller finds this amazing balance.
I mean, there are only, 2 issues in this volume where he does a big, larger Marvel Universe crossover?
Basically.
Yeah. 2 out of 12, it's not bad.
And there's some nice space in between them.
And one of them is Roger McKenzie's fault anyway, so...
Yeah, but even then, like, it was nice seeing that character.
Yeah.
Getting an introduction to that character.
Who did have a small appearance in, like, the issue right before it, so...
Yes, and then it had kind of appears in the issue after. It's a whole thing.
It is.
It's again, it's nice to be talking about something that's just so fantastic, and Miller's general anger at the world is justified, especially as like as the run goes on and we move further into the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
There is one big misstep though, and it happens at the end of issue 179.
Ooh, I'm trying to think of what you're talking about.
Oh, you know.
Hang on. I'm trying to find it. Vamp.
You know, it's the one with Ben Urich.
Oh, that. I don't think it's a massive misstep.
It annoyed me.
We'll get into the nuances of Ben Urich in spoilers, but in the meantime, let's do some Twitter questions. Actually, let's start off on our Discord question today from our friend Andrew, friend of the podcast. Does this run have you rethinking Frank Miller as a writer? Jacob, I feel like that question is directed right at you.
I mean, not really. Because, like, I don't think anything can make me rethink Frank Miller of a writer positively after Dark Knight Strikes Again.
That's true. I suppose it's not like as surprising as one might imagine, because we all, I think most people know Miller's reputation as, became a comics legend for a fucking reason.
Yeah, there's a reason.
But the trouble is, the reason most people cite for him being a legend is like Dark Knight Returns and Year One, and it's not that. It's fucking this.
It's this. This is like just better. Like this is better than both his good Batman books. Like
yeah, I agree.
But I don't know why. I mean, I guess I know why Dark Knight Returns and Year One are more popular because
Dark Knight Returns, I think, had a bigger impact on the larger industry. For better, certainly, for worse.
But they're also, two standalone 4-issue stories, whereas this is a proper run.
Yeah, exactly.
A proper, quite long.
It's a good.
Just with Janson, it's at least 30 issues.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Let alone the stuff he did outside of the main run.
And the stuff he did outside that easily brings it to maybe 40, maybe 50 max.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Close to 50. Yeah, I think so.
It's a big commitment.
Yeah, definitely. Andrew also says, Joey, what's one non-Miller Daredevil story that you would urge everyone to read? I'm actually going to recommend the one I most recently read. I recently read Daredevil Parts of a Whole by David Mack, with art by Joe Quesada and Jimmy Palmiotti. Brilliant story. I'm a big fan of Echo as a character, and I had never read her first appearance, so I wanted to read that, and I fucking read Parts of a Whole. It was awesome. I loved it. Really great time. Just really great. I also posted my thoughts on Twitter, and I think it's really cool because David Mack himself retweeted it, and I thought that was awesome. Easily one of my favorite Daredevil stories outside of the Miller run. And also everyone should read Zdarsky's Daredevil because that's great too. I recently read Parts of a Whole, and I think everyone should too. So yeah. Anyway, let's see. Going to actual Twitter questions. Our friend Rules Panda at Joey Could Read This asks, what is your favorite DD costume that's not the classic red version? I think I did answer this last time, didn't I? I said the black and red Zdarsky.
Yeah, then you showed it to me, and I had to agree because
or no, did I actually? I don't know if I did.
No, I know you sent it to me at some point.
That's news to me. But I guess also for you, because I think you said the classic Red last time. So what I guess what is your favorite outside?
Other than Red, I have a very limited knowledge, but I do really like that Zdarsky one that you showed me.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So let's see. Next up, our friend Kian at Kian the Quark says, "Are you going to watch the Ben Affleck film and Elektra?" So we did. We're halfway there.
Yeah.
I have seen both.
Oh God.
Neither of which are good.
No.
Elektra might just be one of the worst films I've ever watched.
Well, Daredevil 2003 isn't good, but I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah. Daredevil at least has some moments, and also does the Green Lantern 2011 thing of having a really solid cast. But it's just I'll be also with Green Lantern 2011. Both have Michael Clark Duncan. But we did watch Daredevil 2003, and we'll talk about it right at the end of this episode here. It's not good. Come on, I don't think I need to say anything more than that.
There are people who like it.
I don't want to hear about those people.
Well, I'm happy to hear about those people in my responses to my Letterboxd review of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh no.
Apparently, I gave it too low a rating.
Oh, I did see that. Okay, I thought you said. I thought you meant like maybe there was more to that. Okay, cool. All right, never mind. Anyway, our next questions come from our friend Jamie at Jamie_season7. Why is Frank Miller?
9/11.
You know what?
And the 90s.
Yeah.
And the general drift towards the conservative right as people age. That
True.
sort of thing. Like
yeah.
that.
Jamie also asks, why doesn't Kingpin just kill Daredevil? Is he stupid?
He doesn't really have many opportunities, surprisingly, to kill Daredevil in this volume.
Yeah.
He certainly tries. Tries.
Although I think also this book gives like one of my favorite little like Kingpin Daredevil standoff moments where like they really can't do anything about each other's like about their rivalry with each other. I think that's cool. Actually, speaking of Kingpin, our next question comes from our friend English Giraffe at English_Giraffe, who's recently on the podcast on a bonus episode. You can check that out. Says, so Kingpin, is he primarily a Daredevil villain or is he a Spider-Man villain? I mean, for me, I really do think of him nowadays mostly as a Kingpin villain. Oh my god, as a Daredevil villain. Jeez, I know how to speak.
Did you just call him a Kingpin villain?
Yeah, Kingpin is a Kingpin villain. I don't think that's actually an inaccurate statement.
It's not, but it doesn't answer the question.
Okay, Daredevil villain. I also think of him as a Daredevil villain. Although, yes, he was originally a Spider-Man villain and probably should still mostly be a Spider-Man villain. But I don't know. I mostly think of him as an adversary for Daredevil. And mostly because of Frank Miller. So there's that.
I've really only experienced him as a Daredevil villain because of Miller, and of course the first season of the Netflix show,
and of course the famed 2003 movie.
Yeah, cool. I'm trying to block that out of my head, even though we have to talk about it.
Okay. It's worth noting, audience. Jacob finished watching that film like literally an hour ago.
Yeah, because there was a chance we might not have covered it because of
personal life things,
reasons. Yeah. So, but I did. I watched it. Oh, I'm trying to block it from my memory. It is
Jacob. Wake me up inside.
No. We are not besmirching.
Okay, isn't that the funniest fucking scene though? I fucking love that scene.
Oh god, there's so much. Like all the music choices are just like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Anyway, our next Twitter question comes from Sean Franco at SeanFranco_ says, is Daredevil functionally, not materially or narratively, the Batman of Marvel? Because you said functionally, no.
Definitely not narratively.
Maybe, I think materially, maybe.
Materially, maybe. Functionally, I don't think so.
If we're talking about like how he functions within the Marvel universe, then definitely no.
But and then if we're talking about outside in publishing in general, I mean if just Marvel publishing for the analog, the Batman analog is Spider-Man
Yeah,
in
yeah,
terms of like
exactly.
place
So
in the company's lineup.
yeah.
Um,
So
yeah,
so
I don't think
I
so.
would say no to that question.
But it's an interesting question. I could
yeah,
see it.
although like I have, I literally brought it up last episode. Like, there is that just really bizarre Daredevil Batman connection. I don't get it.
I mean, Daredevil 2003 in a lot of ways is a really bad Batman film.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. In a time when the most recent live action Batman film was Batman and Robin.
yeah.
So I don't know. Anyway, and it stars Ben Affleck and has Colin Farrell. So there's that, I guess.
And
Anyway,
other actors.
yeah. Our last set of questions comes from our friend Mason at the GD256. One, do you dare to devil? Question mark.
That sounds like a line from the 2003 Daredevil film.
I feel like it could be. I feel like people could submit like gag questions to this Q&A, and we could write a new script to Daredevil 2003 that's better than Daredevil 2003.
Yes, and shorter than.
True. Yes, that film does not need to be as long as it is. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
He then asks, I don't know much about this character. Can I start with a Netflix show? Absolutely.
Yes, yeah, that's how I started.
Watch the fucking Netflix show. Yeah, it's so damn good.
The first season is brilliant. I love it.
Yeah, and now you need to watch more.
We're working on it, Joey.
No, but the thing is, you're not actually.
We're getting closer. We're getting closer, okay? But then personal shit happened, okay?
Uh-huh.
You know exactly who to blame. I won't name that person.
I know, but I literally can't for reasons.
Yeah,
I literally can't blame that person. Anyway, his third question says, I see Frank Miller. How is Jacob coping? Jacob, how are you coping?
It's a very different kind of cope, right?
Yeah.
Because
you're coping in like the most positive way I think you can.
It's like Frank, you're shit. I don't like you. Why are you good? Why good if Frank Miller? And that feels
wrong.
It's cognitive dissonance. It's very weird. My notes are like that person was like, Miller's actually playing an interesting theme here. And it's like, why do I have to get to say that? Because it's Frank fucking Miller.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hey, it could be worse.
It could be worse. It could be worse. It could be Holy Terror.
Yeah, exactly. It could be significantly worse.
Which is going to be episode 1000.
Yep. Episode 500.
No sooner than 500, okay?
Okay, all right. But that means like for sure it's going to be episode 500.
I will allow it.
Anyway, I wonder if I should make it 666, but I kind of want to make it 500. Anyway, I wanted to be
666 has to have an actual devil in it somehow.
That's true. Anyway, that'd be a great time to do like the Lucifer comic or something. Anyway, his fourth and final question, and our final question for the episode, was he bitten by a radioactive lawyer? Also, how much does him being a lawyer factor into the comics? So to answer your first question, no. No.
I mean, he wasn't really bitten. No, he was splashed by a radioactive lawyer. That's what.
Yes. And him being a lawyer, like factoring into the comics, entirely depends on whoever's writing it and how interested they are.
In terms of the Miller run,
procedural.
In terms of the Miller run, not an insignificant amount. I personally would like a little more.
Yeah,
but that's just like slight personal preference.
Mm-hmm. But hey, also, since you also asked about the show, Mason, there's a lot of that in the show. There's a lot of him.
And those are some of the best scenes in that.
Yeah,
first
they're so damn good. Yeah. So
it really does not help that Charlie Cox is the Daredevil I saw before Ben Affleck, because
you know how it should be done.
Yeah.
You know how the role should be played.
And Affleck like looks the part.
Mm-hmm. And realistically, like it, like a lot of Green Lantern 2011, it's not like bad casting, really.
It's a terror. I mean, it's a director who I don't We'll get into it at the end. We'll get into it
Yeah.
at the end. I have
Yeah.
problems. Okay.
Anyway,
Anyway.
I think that finishes off
Yes,
our
it does.
non-spoiler section.
Because
Though.
I want to jump into these, Joey, because I have thoughts.
Yes, I know you have thoughts, but in the meantime, if you want to find out what next episode is of the podcast, and you're dipping out for the end of our non-spoiler discussion, you can find that at the end of this episode, which we did. I will say we did have to pre-record.
Yes.
Because again, life things happen, and we have to schedule things weird, and we're going to be recording the next episode next week. So we gotta
to accommodate. I will say we are having a guest on the next 2 episodes, and to accommodate both the guest and the end of the calendar year, we have to record next week. And so I had to make sure that I could get the book in time. We recorded the reveal earlier.
So
and then
so
my personal life went very weird for this week.
Yeah.
And
so I'm really glad we pre-recorded that.
Yes.
But yeah. So Jacob already knows what the next 2 episodes are. I think you literally got the books in today, which is cool.
Yes.
But yeah. So Jacob already knows. We won't be saying it personally on this recording, but it'll be in the pre-recorded stuff that you can find at the end of the episode. So that's all there. And that'll be literally the last thing on this podcast episode.
Yes.
So, anyway. All right. Let's do this. All right. Spoiler time. Daredevil Volume 2. Daredevil by Frank Miller and Klaus Janson. Volume 2. We kick off on Daredevil number 173.
Daredevil goes berserk.
Yes, which I don't think is accurate at all, but all right.
No, it isn't. But also, okay, Matthew Murdock, why the fuck are you walking down an alley in New York at night alone?
Because he is a daring devil.
Yeah, but also it's like, Matt.
It also gives Miller an excuse to do the horned silhouette behind him, and it looks cool.
Yeah, I mean it looks cool. Yes, it looks cool. I mean,
you can't override that. As long as it looks cool, you can't argue with it.
Yes, so
anyway, but yeah, he gets attacked down an alley. He fights them as Matthew Murdock, which is fucking awesome. And then he changes into Daredevil, and that's how the issue opens. It's cool. It's really cool. Meanwhile, let's see. Who is this here? I forget. It's been a while since I started this. That's not Heather, right?
Okay.
It looks a little bit like Heather. I think it's just a girl. Who is that?
Yeah, well, because this is the return. This arc is the return of the Gladiator, but it also isn't.
It's not.
Because there's this Gladiator who is not that Gladiator. It's a different Gladiator. The other Gladiators also in. Okay. Miller does a lot here.
He does, and actually quite well, in my opinion.
Yes, quite well. Because the Gladiator, who also happens to be in the neighborhood, coincidence.
As this woman is attacked by this other sort of imposter gladiator. Melvin happens to be around at the time, and
he gets arrested, and
he's framed for attacking this woman, which of course means that also Matt is around because Daredevil witnessed this whole thing, and so
Matt changes clothes surprisingly quickly.
He is a daring devil. You can't argue with that.
I also there's so many bits of this comic, and I mean this in the best way, right? Where there are just scenes that feel like a soap opera, like I can imagine this being staged, multi-camera setup with Melvin being arrested. It's like we have the heart to heart, and
I am going to issue a challenge to Fresh Face Comics readers to go back because it's been happening. Readers, I say listeners, Fresh Face Comics listeners. It's been happening since the very first episode of this podcast. Give me a count how many times Jacob has compared comics to soap operas.
Okay, but this entire run.
I agree, and you're right. Opera. But you have made this point so many damn times on this podcast.
Look, because listen, look. I can just imagine Matt Murdock as the act break of an episode of a soap opera as they're going to cut to commercial coming in. Don't say a word, Melvin. I don't know why, but I can just imagine that. And there are so many moments in this entire book where that happens. Like a moment later on, where Foggy and an old client just burst in on Matt and Heather having an argument, and it is a moment.
Yeah. But
yeah.
meanwhile, Matt and his one assistant Becky,
Yes.
who's disabled, she's wheelchair bound. They go to this court office and they go to see Melvin, and at the very sight of Melvin, Becky faints into Matt's arms. I don't know why she wouldn't just faint into the chair. Like she faints so hard that she.
Hey, Joey, we had a discussion about soap opera.
We did, but
that's what's happening.
I love that the implication is that she has pushed herself up out of her chair and fallen into Matt's arms.
Well, also
she faints.
So I think what happened, the art isn't as clear as it could be. The chair's done a 90 degrees. She's flipped her chair over and fallen into Matt's arms.
Yeah, which also raises some questions that nobody here knows that Matt is Daredevil and how he knew that she was falling and was able to catch her. I know.
Look, the fact that Matthew Murdock has a secret identity, all right, is bullshit.
This whole page is an enigma. I love it.
Yes.
Anyway,
so then, okay.
The issue that gets pretty fucking deadly serious, actually.
Yeah. Trigger warning for sexual assault. Mm-hmm. Becky, in her past, was accosted by someone she believed to be Melvin. Who is responsible for her being disabled, and heavily implied it was a rape.
Mm-hmm.
Heavily implied. And Miller is kind of fascinating because he then decides this issue is going to make Matt Murdock the villain.
Yeah. Which is one thing that I think Miller just did wonders for with Matt's character. Is that Matt can be wrong, which was something that Look, older comics, specifically ones from the 60s and phasing into the 70s.
Especially the ones written by Stan Lee.
Yeah, superheroes weren't especially good at being wrong. They weren't especially good at being humans as at making mistakes like humans do.
You would get comics with a lot of depth, like surprisingly really early Superman.
Yeah. And that depth is there, definitely. But I think big steps like this were finally being made, and like having Matt be so especially wrong about this, with when he talks to Becky about this, he is shocked and angry that she did not report this assault when it happened. You could draw that direct parallel to arguments that even happened today about such events.
Now, I don't think Miller goes perhaps as full as he maybe could. But especially for the time period, I'd argue
we're still in 1980, right?
Yeah, we're in early 80s. To even attempt to have that conversation, and treat it with more tact than all of the Dark Knight Strikes Again.
Yeah, yeah. Like fucking Miller, you enigma of a man. Anyway,
so we do get a proper court scene.
We do, for like a page. Matt is defending Melvin, of course, which is nice. And he gets a delay in the court proceedings, which is lovely. And then he goes out as Daredevil at night to try to find out what's going on for a little bit.
My God, I love the way that Miller draws Daredevil.
Yeah. Especially, I love this page layout, especially. With the way he's running there, and then the one panel going into Daredevil stepping on the one crook down there. I fucking love that. That's so good. That's so fucking good. Oh my God. I also love that is actually the image of Daredevil they choose to use for the cover of this volume. It's great.
Yes, it's holy shit, it is. I never actually noticed that.
Yep. Yeah, it's nice.
I also I thought because the 3 volume covers look kind of similar, I didn't really pay attention to this second cover.
Oh no, you should have, because it's actually really cool. Because you got
Yeah.
the sort of inverted inks, the Electro Daredevil fight down there. And
Yeah,
then
I mean,
the cover on the back. It's nice. It's really lovely.
It's good. It's just my brain was combining the covers because
no, that's understandable.
Yeah.
You know, the covers look very similar, but it's just it's more a uniform thing than it is
Yes.
like, you know, the covers literally being the same. But anyway.
So we also have more soap opera drama with one very angry Foggy Nelson.
Yeah. Who is being very quiet and angry and doesn't really want to talk to Matt about what's going on. Yeah. Matt is trying to talk to Foggy's wife, and she's trying to help, and Foggy bursts in and he's all pissed off, and he doesn't want to explain to Matt what's going on or why he's pissed off, because Matt should know, of course. And that's all we sort of get on that for now, actually. But it's cool. It's nice to see that, you know, Miller is developing these relationships in the background. But meanwhile, so, you know, attentive readers have definitely noticed at this point that Melvin is being set up. That there's another gladiator figure out there that is watching.
There's this fantastic 2 pages with Melvin of him rejecting the gladiator persona and being alone, and him and Matt having this interesting connection because of their loneliness.
Mm-hmm. Because... and that stark white panel on the bottom. Oh my God. The help me please. Oh my God.
Again, Miller, fuck, what happened?
It's so good. It's so fucking good. But yeah, I love that. But yeah, also I was bringing up the fake gladiator then, because he's been watching Melvin's Betsy. Yeah. And he goes to visit her. Then he attacks her. Betsy fucking stands up for herself. She's got a knife. She's got a knife and everything. It's great. I love it.
She stabs him. She stabs him.
She fucking gets the guy. It's awesome. And yeah, she's able to defend herself for long enough that it gathers the attention of her neighbors. The fake gladiator runs away, bursting through a window, and in the investigation later, Daredevil is trying to help out Betsy, and of course Melvin as well in the process. And yeah, he goes on the hunt for this fake gladiator finally. He finally does so eventually. I don't think it's Josie's that he goes to, actually.
Basically Josie's.
It's basic. It's a bar. It's another sleazy bar where criminals hang out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we have, again, fantastic action. I will say one thing that I think Miller somehow improves on in this volume, especially as it goes on, is knowing in the action scenes when to cut even the thought bubbles and dialogue, and just let he does action speak for itself.
He does a lot more of those this volume, and it's actually really refreshing, I think.
Some of that could be he is a little crunched for time. But
definitely. Yeah,
so
the fact that he is both writing and drawing is certainly not helping him right here. But oddly enough, I say it's not helping him. It actually is helping him. In its own way.
It means he has to use the visuals to tell the story because he can't get bogged down in dialogue.
Yeah, exactly, and it significantly improves the individual issues and these action sequences that turn out really nice. But yeah, he Daredevil defeats the fake gladiator guy that is not only like dressed like another version of the gladiator, but underneath
looks
in his mask, like he looks a lot like Melvin too. And so they catch the fake gladiator, and Matt then goes to visit Becky again, and you get this really fucking brilliant scene that culminates in probably my favorite Matthew Murdock line in this issue, possibly one of my favorites in the whole volume, when he pushes this phone towards Becky and says, "Don't let him cripple you." And then he walks out, and we spend these last 10 panels here practically in silence as Becky sort of overcomes her fears and calls the police, and that is where the issue ends. And it's fucking powerful,
satisfying ending, and it's
again,
it's tackling something that even like nowadays
it would turn some heads nowadays. Even
it would turn some heads. I mean, it would piss a lot of people off, and it could be very easy to fuck up. And I'll say Miller's not perfect with it.
No, it's not the absolute best, but I mean, fuck, especially for the time for 81,
he is attempting.
Yeah, it's impressive. Yeah.
And now we move into a bunch of ninjas.
Yeah, let's get some fucking ninjas in here. Daredevil 174. I love this cover. It implies this big team up between Daredevil, Elektra, and the Gladiator. It doesn't happen, but I like that, they're like, here, all these characters are at least in this issue.
Yes. And Elektra has a lot to do because she has to pine over Daredevil in a lot of ways. Anyway, so we open with Elektra.
Yes, she is investigating a group called The Hand.
Hand.
Had you heard of The Hand at all?
Yes,
before this?
I had.
I think they mentioned them in Daredevil season 1, don't they?
They do, and I know they could be a big part of the Iron Fist show.
Yes, they are. So yeah, this would be, I'm pretty sure, their very first appearance, first ever mention ever in comics, which is really awesome. Elektra is looking into The Hand. These guys who are targeting her, and as such are also targeting Matthew Murdock, who's very close to Elektra. And they're tasked with killing them both. And Elektra becomes aware of this plot and finds herself on the next flight to New York. And that brings us into, I love this title page, The Assassination of Matt Murdock, which is just so dramatic. It's wonderful. Also, more court procedures, which is lovely to see. Once again, for only like one page, but it's nice to see again.
Yeah, this time, Matt is demanding a delay in the proceedings to secure witnesses who can prove that the Gladiator is innocent.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a nice little moment before Matt goes all Daredevil and finds himself recapping for himself and the audience where our characters are. Because Foggy has some sort of a secret, but he goes back to, I believe,
he goes back to his apartment.
Back to his apartment, and he detects 4 heartbeats.
Yes, these ninjas that have surrounded him, and I love this moment when he like starts to like prepare himself for battle, and then ninjas are like, "Oh God, he knows we're here. How? What the fuck?
What the fuck?"
Get another great fight scene. Matt fights these ninjas, and as he sort of like pins one of them down to go to interrogate him, the ninjas around him begin to dissolve.
And that's an image.
Yeah, literally dissolve, turn into like dust and smoke around him. And yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's a cool idea. It's just, I love that. It's a different take on the classic cyanide pills. But yeah,
meanwhile, Elektra is watching while one Mr. Kingpin of crime, Wilson, this man is a giant, do not get me in the same room as him, I will be murdered, Fisk. Look, I know. Here's the problem, Joe. Here's the problem. So the Spider-Verse movies, right?
I know. I think did we bring this up last time?
We might have. We might have. My brain is look. You know how it's been for me this week. My brain is all over the place right now.
See, I'm surprised. Like you went for that. I think I would go for, like, I don't know, if we're coming with funny middle names for Wilson, I'd call him like Wilson Cardor Fisk.
Cardor Fisk, yeah, that works.
If we're talking about, especially in reference to like ways he's murdered people, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, he's plotting, he's scheming in the background, and thinking of taking on Daredevil because Daredevil is a thorn in his side. More on that later. Matt then goes to talk to his good friend Foggy Nelson.
Sorry, what did you just call him?
I called him Foggart Nelson. That's his full name, right?
Sure. Yeah. So mind you, the Hand are stalking him. Elektra saves his ass without him realizing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this great intercut of action. Well, Matt and Foggy have this amazing heart-to-heart, basically about the fact that, hey, we don't have enough money to pay the bills, and I'm a failure. You are way better at lawyering than me, and the drama. The drama. Also, there's
now read it in the voice of Jon Favreau.
I don't think I can do a Jon Favreau impression.
Anyway, so Elektra is fighting the Hand, these ninjas that have been following Matt outside. Then a fucking rocket lands,
Yeah.
bomb thing lands in the middle of the apartment, hospitalizing Matthew, where his girlfriend Heather comes to see him. Then,
I love Heather's outfits throughout this volume. They're like,
right, yeah,
they're just, they are choices, and they are
they
the
are
correct choices.
they are.
So we find out, oh no, Matt's radar senses are gone.
Yep. This bomb like knocked out his radar sense somehow, and that's again more classic drama. It's wonderful. And meanwhile, Elektra is still hunting down the
So
Hand,
yeah,
and is still.
Elektra
There's
realizes
she attacks. Sorry, go ahead.
So Elektra. So okay, this is another. Miller has a lot of moving parts. Elektra and Matt realize separately that the Hand are after Gladiator. So Elektra is going to bust him out of the prison transport vehicle, give him his equipment so they can fight the ninjas.
Mhm.
And that is what they do. And then Matt joins the fray, but Matt has to like rely on heartbeats alone.
And it's a really cool idea, actually.
Yes.
I love that. I think that's awesome. And yeah, as the three of them fight off the Hand, they eventually retreat. Some of them turn to smoke, I imagine, and they return to their masters, presumably.
Yes. And their leader, who is, I don't know how to say this name. It's Kirigi.
I'm not even gonna try.
Mr. Pink Ninja Man.
Yes.
Pink
Ninja Man comes in and kills the three ninjas on sight and is given his task to go after Elektra, and that is where we end the issue. Going into Daredevil 175. Okay, look. I know Frank Miller was probably just really horny when he drew this first page.
Yeah, he was. It's horny,
but also, I mean, genuinely nice drawing.
Nice drawing, but also a horny drawing.
Very horny drawing. But hey,
it can be both.
Yeah, credit where credit's due.
It's the first preview of Frank Miller's impossible proportions.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, Elektra is basically wearing a bathing suit. And is
her underwear. I don't even think it's a bathing suit. I just think it's her underwear.
I don't think Miller knows how underwear works.
I mean, he doesn't.
So she's stretching and she feels Matt's presence there, so she throws a fucking sword. What did we say they were called? I forget.
Size.
That's it. I know we looked it up last time. I think they also say it at some point in this volume.
They do.
Which is cool. But yeah, so she throws a sigh at him, and they talk about fighting the Hand, I guess. I forget. Oh man, this is a great episode so far.
Well, it's a relationship drama.
Yeah.
And it's about their relationship. And it's all about how, oh no, I have lost my radar senses. And Alexa's like, I don't care. You can go look. Alexa's position is, look, Matt, you're hot, but I'm not that damaged, okay?
Yeah. So she literally kicks him out a window, and Matt's like, wow, what a woman. And
I must have her.
And meanwhile, we literally, are these the exact panels from last time?
Yeah.
Yes. Miller just copies the exact last page of the previous issue into this issue.
Also, we need to remember that Matthew Murdock fucks.
He does.
This is one of many dates where he stands up Heather Glenn, who really should dump his ass by this point.
But also, Heather's a bit of a bitch herself that we see.
Yeah, she's kind of a disaster in her own right.
Yeah. I think it just, look, it's a really bad relationship on both sides. I think Matt and Elektra should just start fucking again, and everything will be right in the world.
I mean,
Meanwhile,
sure, everything will definitely be right in the world. Because that's not a couple with problems either.
Meanwhile, Foglinson Nelson is being followed by another hand assassin, which Daredevil thankfully swoops in and defeats and knocks out before
multiple times.
Yeah, before Foggy can be
first there's one that's going to shoot him with a bow and arrow, and then there's one that's going to stab him through the window of a taxi.
Mm-hmm. And Foggy doesn't notice any of this either.
No,
like he doesn't see anyone coming after him. He doesn't see Daredevil fighting these guys in broad daylight. Yeah, it's great. But we do also take this time to notice that that Matt is not exactly the sharpest with his skills right now, because again, radar sense is kind of lost. It's really cool. So yeah, I don't know. I like that little detail. He then
so he finds this business card.
Mm-hmm.
For Yukifune oddities, and it's apparently the lamest excuse for a red herring that he's ever touched. Yeah, so it's like I don't know.
I'm not sure what it's trying to imply, actually. Or
I think it's Pig Latin for funky oddities.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Well, only funky is actually in Pig Latin. Anyway, whatever. So Elektra comes here and I guess takes the card for herself.
And is going to go right into the trap while Foggy has to be in court without Matt.
And he has to figure out what he has to do here without Matt. And
he does this great line about like, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill him.
But then Elektra goes to see the whoever this guy is that was working with the hand, supplying like weapons to them and everything. She then kills multiple hand assassins that are waiting for her there,
a la Polonius.
Yep, and also kills the guy with the weapons. Fights off many more hand assassins at the same time. Daredevil is joining the fray as well. We also cut back.
Still can't catch a break in court.
Yep, Fogel Nelson is still struggling. And
these names are just going to get more ridiculous as the
I imagine they will. We're recording a little bit later than normal, and I think it's either going to elevate or deeply
add to the chaos
or drop the quality of this episode. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, more great action because Miller's crushing the action, especially when he's drawing like Matt and Elektra working together.
Yes,
fucking awesome. I do love this bit when Fangle is looking over his notes in the courtroom, and he's like, "Your Honor, the defense moves for a mistrial." which is actually what wins him the day at the end of the day. It's
the correct decision. I also imagine that he's trying to translate these notes from Braille.
Oh my god, I didn't even think about that.
Because it's implied that these are Matt's notes.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I love that.
I don't think Matt writes.
Yeah. I love that. I love that implication. I hadn't thought about that actually.
So Foggy, who is a good lawyer, right? Like let's be honest, Foggy, good lawyer, is having to translate from a bunch of dots.
Yeah, that he definitely has no clue how to read.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, so Elektra and Matt make their way to the Pink Ninja Man. They kill the Pink Ninja Man, and Elektra leaves. I guess. She got what she wanted. So Matt, through all this, because once again he's fighting extra harder than he normally does, because no radar sense, literally passes out right in front of Elektra.
After trying to be like, "You're a cold-blooded assassin. He's trying to flirt, but he can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
but then Matt finally makes his way to the courtroom, where he meets with Heather and Fondle Nelson, who who's like, "Hey, Matt, it's it was right in front of us the whole time. What was it? Stolting versus West decision of 32." And basically that's what got them the mistrial, and basically they won, and it's nice. It's fucking awesome. And also Kingpin is plotting, and that's where the issue ends.
There's a bunch of Kingpin is plotting for this.
There is. It takes a while for him to actually become active in this, but it is kind of cool that that Miller hasn't forgotten about the implications of the end of gang war, that like he still pretty much owns New York's crime. Like it's really cool. It's a cool idea. Anyway, bringing us into Daredevil 176, and oh my god, Jacob, I can win a Columbia 10-speed racer.
Yes.
Details inside. Jacob, I can't fucking pass this up. That's the end of the episode, man. I gotta fucking win this.
You gotta win this bike.
That's my worst fucking joke. I'm done. Quit. Anyway,
I think you've probably made worse jokes.
I probably have, but also I don't think. Have we ever had that where like there's just like an ad that was just not removed at all from an issue cover like that?
We had one for Superman 2, I believe, in I want to say the Titans. In a New Teen Titans issue.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, they were advertising. And see, at least that was a relevant ad, though. This is just
that was relevant.
They're just like, come and get your fucking bike. Like, it's just
yeah, but they weren't making Marvel movies back then.
Yeah, true.
They were making Spider-Man and his amazing friends.
Come on, yeah, go watch Spider-Man cartoons or shitty live-action 70s Spider-Man. I don't know. Anyway, actually getting into it. Pink Ninja Man
isn't dead.
Is not dead. Still has a sword
lodged
jabbed through his abdomen, I believe.
Yes,
and is kind of like just making his way through the city, trying to find a place where it is safe to remove this giant sword from his abdomen, and he does so.
Yes. Meanwhile, it's a rainy night, and we have to have soap opera drama out on the ledge.
Beautiful. Look at that. Look at Heather standing there in the rain with the wind. Matt all sad without his mask on, leaning over the side of the balcony. Oh, it's beautiful. Love it. Love the drama.
Heather thinks she can fix him.
I literally I can fix him moment.
However, I don't think she can. There's only one person that can fix him, and that's Foggy. Probably, honestly.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh no, my radar sense is gone again.
So, we know. This is also where they
mention that there is an old man. We get
our first mention. There's an old man that taught Matt back in the day named Stick, and I'm sure that's that was at least exciting for you to read.
I was like, oh yes. I was wondering when Stick would show up because I knew he was a Miller creation.
He's a Miller creation, indeed. He also does have a live action appearance in the 2003 Ben Affleck Daredevil verse, in the 2005 Elektra movie.
Wait,
what? Yeah, I don't know why he's there, but he's there, and he's played by Terrence fucking Stamp.
They dragged Terrence Stamp into that?
I'm telling you, man, it's the curse of those exact kind of comic book movies where they get great people to play these roles.
Terrence Stamp, he deserved better.
I don't know. Yeah, it's weird. Anyway, so yeah, let's see. Elektra is being followed by Pink Ninja Man. Meanwhile, Matt goes out for his nightly harassment of Turk.
Yes.
I imagine he just does this every fucking night.
I mean, that's what's implied. This time, he just shows up behind Turk. Is like,
he's like just having a soda or whatever. Matt is actually like hit on the back of the head by a guy with a gun, because he didn't sense that obviously. And Turk gets the jump on Matt, and then Josie comes out with a fucking shotgun and is like, "If you're gonna kill him, not in here."
You have broken my window too many times. Get the fuck outside, Turk.
And so, they drag him outside, which gives Matt enough time to recover, I guess.
Well, no, the rain allows him to hear the sound of objects around him.
Yes, yeah, which is weird. I feel like that would be directly tied to his radar sense.
Yeah, the radar sense already makes no sense, okay?
Yeah. It just, if you don't want to just handicap his abilities, I guess this is just how you do it. But I guess if you're going to specifically tie it to the radar sense, then don't try to
Yes.
explain that he can still see people in the rain. It's weird.
And we also glossed over a full 2 pages of Heather being Heather, and then deciding she's gonna go find Stick too. So she puts on. She's so. I mean, I guess this reference point is a bit early because it's only 81. She cosplays Eponine from Les Mis.
Yep.
And goes into a pool hall to try to find Stick.
Fucking packing too. She points a gun at this guy in here.
Yeah.
Like
now this guy has ill intent, shall we say?
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, no, I also have a gun. I think Heather's just kind of, not sane.
No, not in the slightest. There's a particularly unhinged scene later on. I can't remember exactly what issue it's in. It might be the next one, actually, now that I think about it. But yeah, she just gets weirder and weirder as this volume goes along. But meanwhile,
Turk
is
going to rob the Cord conglomerate for cybernetics.
Mm-hmm.
No relation to Ted Cord.
Nope. Obviously.
And there's just like a trap door in this building.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
So this poor janitor is just like doing his sweeping, complaining like an ancillary Shakespeare character, and suddenly he has a gun in his face. Yeah, so Turk does that.
Meanwhile, Matt is out looking for Stick as well, but also being followed by these two other crooks that then get stabbed, straight up murdered by Elektra, who is also being followed by Pink Ninja Man.
Yeah, there's like a lot. How many? Okay, we're at 1, 2, 3, 5 separate parties.
Yeah, all like following and stabbing and shooting each other, and it's a whole thing. I love it.
It's almost a comedy. Like
it almost it feels really funny. It's like one of those like Scooby-Doo bits where it's just like Daredevil running down the hall, two guys also follow, Elektra stabs those guys, she runs down the hall, and then the Pink Ninja guy follows her as well.
Yes. So everyone converges on this place called Duke's, where an old man called Stick wins at pool, gets a gun in his face from Heather, while Matt as Daredevil arrives through the window. Like this. The climax of this issue, it gets insane.
It's a lot.
Like that
Stick whacks fucking Matt in the face.
After Matt saves him from two of the people he was playing pool with. Suddenly, Turk in a cybernetic exoskeleton bursts the fuck in.
This is Turk's final form. Yes. And then he gets immediately knocked out by Daredevil. And I truly cannot imagine a better setup and payoff to that.
Wow. Elektra is outside, gets attacked by Kirigi, gets into a giant semi and runs the fucker over, and then runs the semi itself into the Hudson River.
Mm-hmm.
Kirigi goes on fire and is still fighting, and then is actually dead, we think. And that's where the issue ends.
That's it, yeah. And then you see the cover for 177. And just when you thought it couldn't get any weirder, you get that. With a little blurb on the side that says, "Yes, we did. We dared to publish this, the most offbeat story of the year."
So
this Stanley-ass fucking promotional blurb. With an advertisement at the top, beginning September 12th on NBC, Spider-Man and his amazing friends. Look at that. Oh my god. What a strange time this was.
Yes. So this is one of the issues where Frank Miller has dropped a bunch of acid.
Yep. And I'm really here for it.
It's the Daredevil training arc.
Yeah. He's lost his radar sense, and Stick is here to train him again, supposedly.
Is it bad that I kind of prefer the way Stick is presented in the show than in the comics?
It's understandable. I mean,
I think he lacks a bit of depth here.
Yeah, definitely. He's still a fun character.
He's fun. He's fun.
You can see the basis of a really strong character here, at least.
Yes. Because yeah. So this is Matt needs to relearn his radar sense. Like
He
that's
does this
the arc.
by Stick continually having him shoot a bow and arrow at a target. Meanwhile, Matt is hallucinating the entire time, hallucinating his childhood, his father, school bullies, and typical things.
And the way Miller draws this is, first off, the colors outside of everything but Matt go monochrome, basically, with
which goes so hard. I love that.
Yeah, with like the occasional pop of like yellow. But like Matt is drawn as adult Matt. So like,
but still with like the size of little kid Matt.
Yeah. So so it looks all sorts of kind of fucked up because there are like children who by comparison look like giants.
Yeah.
Also Matt's dad is larger than life. It's a fascinating sequence. And it's this whole idea of like, you need to clear your mind or they will kill you. Yeah, that's definitely a voice that Stick would have.
Yeah. And meanwhile, it is this issue.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Heather's up to some shit.
Yeah, so again, in true soap opera character fashion, she's a woman who is bored in New York City.
So she calls her fuck boys, I guess. Like,
yes.
I don't know.
Anyway.
But also, J. Jonah fucking Jameson.
Yes, and we're beginning a plot line that properly that will only
is that an ambulance outside your place?
Yes. Let's make
I'm not cutting it. No, fuck it. J. Jonah Jameson is here. Sorry, go on.
Words. Fuck me. God, I'm losing it. So there's a plot line that begins here with the mayoral elections of New York City with one Randolph Winston Cherry. But Cherry with like an H.
Cherry with an H at the end. Yeah, it makes no sense. I don't know.
But he's 3 times he graduated first in his graduating class at West Point, 3 times decorated for valor in the Korean conflict. As councilman, a dedicated, untiring soldier in the war against crime. He's a mayoral candidate. And at the Bugle, J. Jonah Jameson, fascinating other side to him here, brings in, Ben Urich, and says, hey, this article you're writing and wanting to publish on Cherry could lose us the Bugle. It's, but,
one of those just like, he says like, make sure you get your facts straight, like just, you have to know what you're doing here.
Jameson at his heart is a good person.
Yeah. Yep.
Especially now that we have, more developed Jameson.
Yeah.
And there isn't a Spider-Man to be like, I get rid of those pictures of Spider-Man.
Yeah. But meanwhile, Matt is still tripping balls. He is he's reenacting the events of getting blinded by pushing the old man out of the way and getting the radioactive materials inside his eyes and all that. And he's still trying to shoot the target at the same time, and he keeps missing. And
also it's heavily implied that like this issue takes place over the course of like a long time. Some sort of time is passing because the article gets published and Cherry meets with the Kingpin,
who has very much been helping him out this whole time.
Who's like, who is in the best Vincent D'Onofrio ways. Don't worry, I'm either going to buy the Bugle or kill it. And so we then find at the offices of Nelson and Murdoch, they've been ransacked. Yeah,
Mr. Newfangled Nelson and Becky investigate their offices.
They get worse every time.
They do. And so they see that their offices have been ransacked, and that's that. Meanwhile, Stick is still just beating Matt's face with a fucking stick.
Well, Matt is also being a depressed, whiny little bitch.
Okay, I want you to look in the collected edition at the bottom of page 106, the second to last panel. Stick in the back there is just giving off big John D. Sandman vibes in there.
Yes.
It's weird. It's weird. Anyway, Matt tripping balls again, literally fighting his father in the ring. It's awesome. It's actually really, really cool. And then
because then Matt's dad turns into a literal devil.
Yep, fucking giant fucking Dungeons and Dragons monster thing here. Looks really cool. Yeah,
but
I love
it. Foggy Nelson.
Fuck up Nelson.
No, he's not a fuck up here. He's brilliant here.
Yeah,
he somehow was like, well, you caught us at a bad time, Mr. Jameson. My partner and I are, shall we say, between offices. However, if you were to advance us the necessary funds to open a new office downtown.
And then we go one of those like classic like Jameson moments where he's like, fucking ridiculous. Of course I'll do it. You know? Yeah, I love it. He actually goes for it. Meanwhile, Heather and her fuckboys.
Is that a cocktail party?
Yep. This fucking scene is so weird, dude. So she's like with these guys. She's like flirting with them all. And as
Rico insults Matthew Murdock. So
yeah, and so she dumps her drink on his head and she goes home. And that's the end of that plot.
Insane. This woman is insane.
It's so weird. It's so fucking weird. Anyway, meanwhile, Matthew beats up his sleep paralysis demon, and and he's able to hit the target then, and good for him.
And then Stig's like, "I did it, didn't I? I hit the target." It's like, oh, anybody can do it once. So then Matt does it twice, thrice, 4 times. And he keeps
each
going.
Time splitting the arrow at the middle, quite literally. And then Stick is going to just straight up shoot Matt as he's removing the arrows, and he's able to dodge it and make sure the arrow hits the target. And it's cool. Matt has his radar sense back. It's nice. All he had to do was drop acid.
Yeah, basically. Drop acid with an old blind man.
And meanwhile, Kingpin is plotting, and he actually decides to start doing something here. He wants Elektra found for some reason. And that is where we end that issue. Going into Daredevil 178.
So yeah, this one probably
Elektra
on the cover. Daredevil meets Power Man and Iron Fist.
Like, I mean, I get the point of it. Like, he has his radar sense back on the cover, so like you don't really see them. But I actually want them on the cover. Like,
I didn't. I'm gonna be honest. Didn't realize it was supposed to be them until you pointed it out.
Yeah. That would definitely go over one's head, especially if one wasn't super familiar with the characters.
Yeah, like I'm not.
Yeah. So anyway, point being, Elektra's fucking up some guys. These are specifically Kingpin's guys. That have gone after her, and there's a note there waiting for her. That says, if you are alive to read this, you are as deadly an assassin as I have been told. I should like to discuss with you employment opportunities in my organization. And so she sees that and goes to meet with... I don't know why I only decided halfway through to start doing D'Onofrio. Anyway.
I think you kind of have to ease into it.
You do. Well, I don't know. Maybe.
It's a hard voice. It's a hard voice to do, and it's easy to like over pitch to somewhere completely differently.
Oh, I'm totally willing to admit that I sometimes just like go on like tirades where I just like read through Vincent D'Onofrio's Twitter, like just tweets that he's made just in his Kingpin voice.
I mean,
it's fun to do. It's a really fun thing to do. It just take some time and do it. It's a good time. Anyway, so Matt is running through the city, reflecting on events recently. Now with his radar sense back. Meanwhile, Kingpin is meeting with Cherry. And they're up to some shenanigans, I imagine.
Or it's like, well, we can go after Nelson and Murdoch. That should be easy. So, Foggy realizing first off, so the Kingpin, sends men to just interrupt this private conference. And Matt's like, I'm a poor blind man. Oh dear, you seem to have all fallen the fuck over. Like, I wasn't I mean, I wasn't expecting this book to be as funny as it is. Like
It is, yeah. It's genuinely funny at times. I love it.
it's like intentionally so.
Yeah, yeah. See, Miller can do comedy. Actually, good comedy sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So changes into Daredevil, attacks the men again. While Foggy is like, well, I need some bodyguards.
And so he goes to hire the heroes for hire, Iron Fist and Luke Cage, Power Man, who are eating
Luke Cage
pizza.
in a particularly 1970s-esque costume.
Yep. Yeah.
I will say one thing that's kind of annoying. This pizza gag, my God, that is aged so poorly. Like, because the joke is Foggy's fat and he can't control his appetite, guys.
See, I don't know. I at least find like the inner monologue kind of funny.
The inner monologue's a little funny, but it's a weird gag.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, he eats like the last slice of pizza on them as they're debating helping Matt and Foggy.
And it's like, hey, yeah, they need money, so they're gonna do it. Yeah. So that evening, Matt, working late, gets approached in his office by several other members of the Kingpin's gang.
Walking in at the same time is Matt and Flarp's new bodyguards, Luke Cage and Iron Fist. I actually do have to ask now that we're actually on these
characters.
Guest issues. What was your history with these characters, Luke Cage and the Iron Fist?
So I knew they had TV shows.
It's true. In what particular line of TV shows, Jacob?
It's just a television line for an internet streaming service.
Yeah, just a random one. Yeah.
I'm working on it, Joey. Hey,
how long ago was that Daredevil bonus episode? How long ago was it?
Joey. I'm working. You know the plan is that not the next bonus episode, but the one after. Going back to that universe.
And I really want to talk about these shows again, though. Is the thing.
I have made progress. You should be happy. I've made fairly good progress until
I believe in you.
The things that happened this week happened.
I know they happened. A literal matter of life and death.
God damn it.
Anyway, so did you know anything about Luke Cage and Iron Fist though?
So I knew that Luke Cage was one of the early Black superheroes. Was he the first?
I believe the first to ever get his own book.
Right, because Black Panther was in a debuted in like a different book.
Right? Yeah, it was like the Jungle Action. It was called. Yeah.
And I knew Iron Fist as a character comes from sort of a history of kung fu movies, but is also like has some baggage, out of universe baggage because of that history.
So Danny Rand is an American character. Is meant to be sort of like Asian American.
Is he really? Then why did they hire the guy, the very white guy, to play him?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Finn Jones isn't like bad, and like you could, play it off the way it is in the show. It's weird. It's really weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah. So that's all.
I knew you didn't know anything. I knew Luke Cage was bulletproof.
Okay. And did you know anything about Danny?
I didn't. I might have. I don't know if I saw the first episode of Luke Cage just in isolation.
Okay.
Like immediately when it came out, because I know I tried to watch Jessica Jones and I made it like an episode or two in.
Luke Cage is also in Jessica Jones.
That could be what I'm thinking of too.
That might have been it. Yeah, because he's in those first couple episodes.
Yeah, this is getting close to I guess probably a decade now ish.
Don't say that. Yeah, you're right though. That was 2015.
Yeah, we're
fuck. Oh years. God, you can't say that. We're moving on. Anyway, Danny and Luke come in.
Can I just scare you off with the concept of the passage of time?
It sounds so weird because those shows are still so new and beautiful to me.
They are not. They're getting close to a decade old.
I know. It's weird. It's just weird to think about. Anyway, So
Yes.
they rescue Matt from these other from Kingpin's guys.
And then they are dragged to court the next day, which, okay, I don't know. The image of these two superheroes in court is just hilarious. Like, because like the courtroom scenes have largely tried to stay grounded and real. Like everybody's in suits, but then you have Luke Cage and Iron Fist
who run into their boss, Jaren, who actually, you said you watched the first couple episodes of Jessica Jones.
Yes.
You may know, do you remember Carrie Ann Moss's character in Jessica Jones? Jerry Hogarth?
I believe so.
She's a sort of gender swapped version of this character.
Yes. I think I know who you're talking about. You're talking about like the lesbian.
Yes, Carrie Ann Moss's character.
It's been a decade, guys, and
I get it. Just watch the fucking show. Anyway,
I'm working on it. We're getting there. I promise.
This is all these fucking Marvel episodes turn into, is just me fucking yelling at you to watch.
That's not gonna happen next time. I know it's coming next, and that can't happen next time.
I know. I'm sure I can still find a way, though.
You can't find a way to make it naturally occur.
Oh wow, we're not even halfway through this book.
No, we're not.
Who we got this? Okay, so Matt senses danger around, I think.
Yeah, danger. Because the Kingpin's men, so they split up. He jumps down an elevator shaft.
Danny and Luke then interrogate Mr. Cherry. Meanwhile, outside, Kermit Balloon.
Because it's the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, I think.
Probably. I think. Yeah, probably.
So, which again, just this image of Luke Cage and Iron Fist in the crowd. Yeah, so you know, Cherry's got the checks that would implicate him in criminal behavior, and he's making a swap during the parade with a bag of jelly beans, but a child screws it up. So we get some action. Iron Fist and Daredevil fight for a bit because
due to a horrible misunderstanding.
That happens a lot in the Marvel universe, it seems.
Yeah. I do like this bit though, where like Danny and Matt are just continually complimenting each other on their own fighting skills. It's funny. I like it. But yeah, as the fighting comes to a close, Luke saves the kid falling
Sheldon.
from
who is the guy who had the checks initially and was going to testify, and it turns out. It turns out that this issue ends on a sad thing where he's going to hand over the checks, but oh no, they slipped out and are now somewhere potentially shredded and destroyed. So we then end
the issue, closing out our Elektra plot for today. Elektra goes to see the Kingpin, and
they have much to discuss.
And that is where we end the issue. Going into Daredevil number 179. Oh my God, Jacob! It happened again. I can win another Columbia 10-speed racer.
Yeah. Also, this might be my favorite cover of the collection.
It's really damn good. Yeah, I love
this or the 180 cover.
The 180 cover, yeah.
But this is the Ben Urich issue.
Yeah.
So we really get Ben Urich back in a larger capacity because he's had some appearances here.
Yeah, especially since he only had one really significant issue last time. Good to have that here as well. Ben goes to this movie theater to go meet with somebody.
Turns out the guy he meets with gets stabbed in the back.
You know what I always love? Because Miller actually does it a couple times with his art throughout this. I imagine it's a Comics Code Authority thing, but it actually makes a lot of sense that when he has Elektra stab somebody, or somebody gets stabbed with Elektra's blades, that the blade doesn't go fully through their clothes. That it causes this sort of lip in their clothes that it stabs through, and it doesn't break the clothing itself. It's probably a Comics Code thing, realistically.
But it's a clever way around the Comics Code.
Yeah, and it actually makes a lot of sense, and actually probably makes it more dramatic.
Yeah, but it also tightens up on blood and allows then a page later for the longer blade of the side to actually have this very nice pop of red.
Yeah, it's
which
nice.
is because who colored this issue? Who colored this? I think this issue might be Klaus Janson on colors.
It doesn't give the specific credits for this one, of course.
Yes, I'm going to check the front of the book because I know they let. Yeah. From this till the end of the book, it's Klaus Janson doing all the colors.
Yeah, it's good shit. It's
really
really good. Yeah.
A
lot of this is done actually. I love this issue because it's done through like Ben Urich's narration, through him like telling a story. It's really nice. And it does kind of set you up for this sort of like false expectation where one can assume that this is not going to end well, and it doesn't. And really, it's the fault of the following issue.
Yeah, we'll get to it. But what's great is we build up. It's like we for those who may be coming in late, we give Ben gives his backstory of who he was and the story about how his greatest story that will never see print. All while he calls in his now new friend Daredevil, and tells him about Elektra. And we have this entire point where Ben is still investigating, all through all of this madness, even going directly to Cherry to confront him. Cherry, who is in the gym pumping iron, which is kind of a striking image because Cherry's like this old-looking man.
But no, he's fucking crushing it here.
and Daredevil wants to come in and save Ben.
He gets Ben out of this. And then Matt and Ben begin working like very closely together.
Ben finds this crazy bag lady. A bag lady.
I really gotta know. Did you put together who it was?
Oh yeah, no. It immediately clicked because of the way the character ended last volume. I'm like, oh, that's Vanessa.
I do love the narration that immediately accompanies it. Bag lady, just a lousy, smelly bag lady. I was expecting maybe royalty. It's like the issue plays it off like nothing, other than the fact that she takes up almost the entire page.
Yeah.
It's cool.
It might also be taking a trick from Sweeney Todd.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
That's where my brain went.
Yeah, very possible.
That is also a second Sondheim. Why am I referencing Sondheim so much tonight?
It is also the best Sondheim musical.
This is true.
You can bring it up literally whenever.
Yes.
Anyway.
Ooh, man, I will have to work in a Sweeney Todd parody for one of my bits at some point.
Ooh, that'd be fun. You did Little Shop already.
I did Little Shop,
which is my favorite musical ever. So I thank you for that. But yeah. So,
and then Ben has this scene with his wife.
Yes,
and it is so sweet and cute. And my heart dropped. I'm like, oh, I know what's coming.
Right? It's like that old TV show trope. It's like, if the episode opens on like a flashback to like your favorite character's backstory, you're like, oh fuck no.
Oh fuck. Or it's the old mortal words. I only have 2 days to retirement.
Yeah. Ben then goes to see who is this.
Again, one of the men working for Kingpin, still trying to get
that makes sense. Which Daredevil interrupts their meeting then, and
yes, and Ben finds his way. After describing a lot of action done in one page off screen of what Ben can see through this window, that is fascinating. So it's all done in these like tiny shadows and onomatopoeia, and it's amazing. The silence falls. And we start following the action between Matt versus Elektra.
Yep. Which Miller once again does some awesome action here. Really great stuff. Elektra becomes very aware of Ben throughout all this, and is someone clearly on her radar already, thanks to the Kingpin. And as we close out our issue, she sees Ben across the way, throws her sigh, and
stabs him. Through the abdomen.
And
the issue ends heavily implying that Ben Urich is dead.
I think I kind of helped your reading experience then by confirming for you in between that he's not actually dead.
Yes.
Because I feel like you'd be even more pissed off if you read the next issue without warning.
Yes, because Ben Urich isn't dead, and that is a problem. Mm-hmm. I know this is comics. Death doesn't mean anything.
It really does seem like Miller was wanting to kill him off here. I wonder what got in the way. But other than the fact that
alternatively, he could be using this fake out as setup for 182.
True.
Because where it isn't a fake out death, and there is a major character death. And
with the same sort of weapon.
Yeah, so that's what I was maybe thinking. I don't think it entirely justifies it because I'm sorry, Frank Miller just wrote a perfect final issue for this character.
Yeah. But also I do wonder, like, if when also like that, we talked about this, I know, in like DMs, before we actually recorded this, I was like, they had only just started actually doing something with the fact that Ben knows Matt's identity. 179 is like, the first issue where they're actually like working together as a team since that happened, since he found out about Daredevil's secret. And that's going to be like the only time they ever use that. It would feel like a bit of a wasted opportunity if you killed off Ben at that point. But like you mentioned, it is kind of a perfect ending for the character, if it were the ending for that character.
And the fact that it's not the fact that the character continues to appear. It's the fact that this ending is not the ending. Because I do like the role he plays in the rest of the book.
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah,
it's just
I don't especially like how the dialogue is done though, bringing him back. Like he doesn't even spend like we don't even see like him spend any time recovering.
That's the shoddiest part of it because Miller just glosses over it. It's just
which does also kind of make me wonder: did we maybe lose a potential issue somewhere in favor of including the Roger McKenzie one? Maybe that might have been it.
Because we'll talk about the Roger McKenzie one in a couple issues time when we get to it. It's just it's the one true black mark on this volume for me. Like, it doesn't affect my opinion that much. This book would be a 10 out of 10 book by Frank fucking Miller.
Actually, question: is this your favorite Marvel book we've read so far?
Oh yeah, no, this is
fuck yeah, I'll take
the best one. So
yeah,
that's awesome. I don't know what's. I mean, I know what's coming in the next two, but I don't know like the quality. Like I mean, I know you enjoy the next two books, and I'm sure you enjoy the last two books for this block. But obviously, I don't know how well regarded those are. Surprisingly, this run is largely living up to the hype. Which
is lovely to see. You read these big iconic comic book runs, and it's just like sometimes it could seem like lesser than what it was built up as. But no,
I'll say
Miller's Daredevil.
Year one in Dark Knight Returns, way back in year one of this podcast, did not live up to the hype for me.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this is
good.
Which didn't think it would happen. But it did.
But here we are.
Anyway, The Damned, which is an issue I like a lot. This is another Miller on acid issue, as well as Klaus Janson art on acid. Because this is kind of like, let's look at the plight of the homeless, and like the damned are the homeless. They aren't like supernatural creatures, really. It's just this, people living in the sewers because New York City is, it's a sprawling metropolis. It's also a place of poverty. And I think that's really interesting. We have someone controlling the homeless.
Yes,
on
they
this
call in
page.
The narration their king.
Yes.
And it immediately gives you just all kinds of wrong feelings. it's not fun. But yeah, we then go into following Matt on his nightly stroll to harass Turk.
This time, Matt is still injured and is like still not a match for these guys. He will
do anything to harass this man, I imagine.
It's therapy for him.
He will find him.
Men will really track down one largely unimportant thug night after night instead of just going to therapy.
I fucking love it. It's so good. But anyway, meanwhile, Ben Urich is fine.
He's fine.
He spent 2 weeks breathing through a tube and thinking about how stupid it was for a second-rate reporter to play hero. According to him, that is his exact dialogue.
I hate it.
It feels a little cheap.
It's fucking cheap.
It's really cheap, yeah.
Outside of that,
here's the thing though. This, for some reason, and I can't quite explain why, feels somewhat out of Miller's hands. I can't quite explain what it is. It feels like an editorial thing almost. It really does.
Kind of. Who's editor-in-chief? Is it still Jim Shooter? It's still Jim Shooter. Look, I don't have any evidence to blame it on Shooter, but the only other editor on this issue is Danny O'Neill, and I'm sorry, this doesn't feel
Danny
like
O'Neill can't do that. No,
Danny would never.
He would never. He might.
He would never.
But yeah, like I don't know. I would like to think, and maybe it is just like the sheer quality of Miller's Daredevil so far that makes me think that like he wouldn't. I don't think he would do that.
No. It's why I wonder if the fake out is intentional to try to throw the reader off when the other character dies, and then you have a full issue of Matt thinking that character is alive, and it turns out they're actually dead.
Yeah,
like maybe that's what he's doing. I don't think it works as well.
Yeah, but the parallel, I guess, could be drawn. Yeah, I don't know.
But the important part of this scene, which outside of that line, it's a fantastic scene in this. It's in a dark room.
Mm-hmm. And he's examining the photos that he took with specifically the one of the bag lady, and he requests the Kingpin file to look over again
because he's like it can't be, but it looks like it is.
Yep, and we're off. Daredevil and Ben go on their journey together into the sewers to find out what the fuck is going on down here.
Because it might be that the Kingpin's wife might still be alive.
Yeah, and it makes for some really cool drama here. Yeah, it's awesome. I really love it.
Meanwhile, throughout this issue is more of the mayoral plotline. Yep, fantastic stuff. Fantastic stuff.
Becky and Filet Mignon Nelson are watching Cherry's candidacy, and I don't really have anything to comment on the scene. I just wanted to come up with a new name.
Jameson has to step down.
That's it. That's what's
the
happening.
Attack, which is quite sad. Foggy is almost.
I don't know what I'm doing on this show anymore.
Foggy feels like he's on the brink of realizing that Matt Murdock is Daredevil.
Sometimes I wonder. Meanwhile,
my head is on my desk. You made me head desk, Joey. Congratulations.
I'm just grasping at like whatever fucking F words come to my mind. Anyway, so fucking Daredevil and Ben continue to investigate in the sewers. They get attacked by
and this is kind of in a lot of ways representative of like a journey into the underworld. Like that's how Miller plays it in this nice
how he plays how the homeless of this area of town like are treated. It's a really cool idea.
But also then later on playing into actual like urban myths. You know, the big famous one, of course, being alligators in the sewer of New York. Which is, you know, that classic.
Flashbacks to Batman the Animated Series, The Underdwellers.
I didn't need those flashbacks, Joey.
Well, for some reason, that's all I could think of when I think of alligators in the sewer, and I really hate that about myself. Either that or I know there was like a Lego Batman video game mission where there were like alligators in a sewer.
Probably Killer Croc level.
Yeah, it was a Killer Croc thing, I'm pretty sure. But
anyway, so you know, the whole idea is we're descending into hell, and there is this king who has made Vanessa his like
I love Miller's layouts, like as they keep going down with just those long panels across the page. Like, oh, it's so good. We come across the king, and Vanessa is not looking okay down here. Oh my god. Ben is brought down here as well. Daredevil is tied to Ben. They're released into the waters below, or once again, like we mentioned, alligator in the sewer. Daredevil was able to, I guess, strangle the alligator.
And then attack the king. And
get Vanessa out of there. They take the this ring off of the king, and Vanessa takes it, and they claim Daredevil as a king. Down below, it's a really weird, but also like kind of just really evocative moment. I don't know, I really like it. And so Daredevil goes to visit Willie Fisk, Willie Boy, Willie Cardor, Fisk, and he throws a ring on his desk and tells him that Vanessa is alive, and says what he wants in return is Cherry.
And mind you, this is election night.
Yeah.
So Cherry's
Cherry's winning. Yeah. He is already. Yeah.
Not only winning, he has won. So he steps out after winning.
Yeah, and is like, I have to step down, and Daredevil has basically won. Left him and the Kingpin at a standstill, and so the Kingpin gives Elektra her next mission because somebody must die. Somebody must pay for this. And so he hands her a picture of, oh god, I can't come up with anything. Fuck.
Franklin Nelson.
Franklin Foghorn Nelson. And
Foghorn Leghorn Nelson.
Yeah, and so
and that's
it's getting bad. We still have 4 issues left. It's going to be a rough 4 issues.
Yes.
So
we move on to Daredevil 181.
181. Here we go.
Another fantastic. I really like the covers with like the yellow.
Yeah.
Sort of.
This is this is the big one, like the really big one.
Yeah.
This one is like framed in my comic shop owner's like comic shop case that he keeps all like the rare expensive issues in. I forget how much he has it for.
Not it's cheap, I'm guessing.
It's not cheap. It goes for a lot of fucking money. And
I get it.
It's not only great, of course, but it's extremely important to Daredevil history. So here we go. Last hand. The cover promises a lot. Bullseye versus Elektra. One wins, one dies. And they are not fucking kidding.
I also did not know that this was like the big famous one.
Yeah, this is the thing. This is I don't want to say it's the reason that Miller created Elektra, because he had other plans for her out, beyond this issue.
Because didn't he eventually also write an Elektra book? Like,
yeah. She has her own solo series and all that Miller wrote, and there's like a fucking omnibus for.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think that was one of the things he worked with Lynn Varley on initially, right?
Yeah. Yep. And so he had plans for her beyond this. So I don't want to say like, he created Elektra to die. But that's sort of one of the big things that she's known for, oddly enough. It's not healthy. Starsky does a lot of great things with her. Anyway, point being, let's fucking go. So building up Bullseye again. Bullseye wants his revenge on Daredevil. Not quite as insane as we saw him last time. But he's still unwell.
So I love that this is a double length issue, so we can spend a lot of time away from Matt.
Yeah. Actually, the entire issue is done from Bullseye's perspective.
Yeah.
Which is lovely. Like you get this like full page of like Matt training, but it's it's really like just Bullseye like pondering on like what Matt is doing at this moment. It's really, really interesting. I love it. Also, as Bullseye is imprisoned here, he beats up with one Frank Castle, the Punisher. Yeah. Is this your first ever Punisher thing ever? Have you watched anything Punisher? He has a couple movies. Most of them aren't good.
So I believe, didn't he appear in the 90s Spider-Man show at one point?
Probably.
Because I think that sadly I know Punisher most well from the political sphere.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. And I scratch kind of. It's really unfortunate.
It's unfortunate
because Frank Castle is a fucking brilliant character.
Also, like, Frank Castle would not stand for any of the way his iconography is used in the real world.
No, God, no.
Like, and I will say, as he's portrayed in these issues, he's good and interesting, but he's kind of he's not really the focus ever.
Yeah, he's not the most fascinating.
Which obviously makes sense because Miller is writing now on his own way, writing this massive, basically a 4-issue arc right now that's going to close out the second volume.
Yeah. Bullseye here secures a TV appearance where he proves that not only in his hands is anything a deadly weapon, but also in his mouth. He uses this pill to like start fighting off these cops. He gets the upper hand. He gets this gun. He fucking breaks the fuck out, and it's awesome. I say awesome.
And
it's
one
unhealthy.
of the most chilling scenes in the entire book happens as he's escaping. He's getting out. He locks some of the cops in a jail cell. And I almost forgot. I almost forgot. Harry, I made you a promise, Harry. Remember? Bullseye, please don't. Yeah. And he just shoots this random guy in cold blood.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And he escapes by helicopter. And he
read it as Colin Farrell plays Bullseye.
I'm not doing that. I cannot do an Irish accent. Neither can Colin Farrell, really. But that's besides.
Can you kill Frank Miller the way that Bullseye does?
No. I might be able to do an old lady like Bullseye does.
Isn't that actually like the best bit of that movie, though?
Yeah.
The bit where he kills Frank Miller.
Yeah. And it's post 9/11 Frank Miller, so he'd already gone crazy.
Exactly. Yeah.
He'd already subjected the world to the Dark Knight Strikes Again.
Yeah, he had done enough damage already at that point.
Yeah.
Oh man. Anyway, moving on. So Bullseye escapes. Daredevil becomes very aware of his escape. Bullseye then goes around looking for Daredevil. It's also important at this point to note that Bullseye is aware that Kingpin has replaced him. As he used to be Kingpin's assassin, he has somebody new, and so he's not only looking for Daredevil, he's looking for Elektra. Really here,
who he's informed about Elektra by Mr. Slaughter.
Yeah.
As well as that Elektra's going to kill one Franklin Nelson. And then we get this page of a very drunk Bullseye having the gears in his head turn. He thinks, I'm looking real hard at the photo of Murdoch and I start thinking about how much he looks like you, Daredevil. And I read about how tight you are with Murdoch, and I wonder if you're both the same guy. And then I read, get this, that Matt Murdock is blind. Wouldn't that be a kick? Daredevil, the blind superhero. Like I said, a crazy idea.
Fucking gorgeous page. Oh my God. It's so good. Fuck.
And Daredevil sneaks in. No, not Daredevil. Bullseye sneaks into court to watch Matt Murdock defend a single mother who is trying to get custody of her children and is having trouble because she is handicapped. She's disabled. She's in a wheelchair, and I don't know. There's something about this scene in particular that just hit really hard.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with the way it's drawn, actually.
That it also doesn't. I don't know. It feels really progressive for 1982.
True. Yeah, definitely.
Or 81. Are we still on 81? Whatever year.
I think we're in 82 now. Yeah, definitely 82. Yep. Cool. Anyway, but yeah, so Bullseye has probably like his most brutal kill in this. Just of what it is, he kills a cab driver with a playing card. Just Love it. Elektra then begins.
Elektra is Foggy's cab driver,
Mhm.
and she's
She's
going to
still-
kill Foggy, and then he recognizes her, and because she's recognized, she can't bring herself to do it.
Yeah, and it's a really fascinating moment. Yeah, I don't know. I just love that.
It's fascinating. And then we get like the first Elektra Bullseye. Well, we get the Elektra Bullseye confrontation, or at least the beginning of it. And it's pretty much all silent. It lets the art do a lot of the talking. And that's
which is also where the fact that this issue is double length really gets to shine as
well.
Well.
Because it means Miller can be like, right. I can imagine the script being basically like
they fight.
Scene. They fight, and Miller's like,
exactly 3 to 4 pages, and let that fight breathe in those 3 to 4 pages. Like it's cool. It's really, really cool. Leading up to Bullseye getting the upper hand and taking Elektra's weapons, using it against her. Once again, that great fucking imagery of the Psy like extending the clothing rather than stabbing through Elektra's outfit. And it Elektra fucking dies.
Matt's feet.
So you didn't know that at all?
No, right? I didn't.
I guess then, what were you thinking up to that moment?
My brain was like, okay, either this is gonna be a fake out, or Elektra's actually gonna kill Bullseye. Because I knew Elektra is an important character.
Yeah.
So it's
and by that logic, it's not a spoiler necessarily for me to say she comes back eventually.
This is a comic book after all, but I was like my first, like, I was very glad to then talk to you in DMs and be like, hey, she's actually dead, right? Like,
I was like, oh yeah, she is. Although it does kind of make the opening page of the next issue really funny.
Yeah.
But aside from that, also I just fucking love that how fucking cruel Bullseye is in this moment. Elektra like crawls her way to Matt Murdock's home, and as this crowd watches this woman die in Murdock's arms, in the crowd, Bullseye has followed her to make sure she dies and bleeds out on his doorstep,
and is lighting a cigarette.
It's so fucking good. Oh my
god, it's chilling.
Oh fuck.
It's kind of a shame that Elektra's main purpose is to die. But I think she had
I wouldn't necessarily call it a fridging though.
No, because it isn't just the one thing that's really stopping it from being a fridging is that she was allowed to have her own arc.
Yeah, that her death wasn't to serve another person's character arc. It
does serve Matt's
it does.
Arc.
Yeah, inadvertently though, more like it feels like that is the culmination of her arc up to that point.
Yes.
Her choosing not to kill Morgan Freeman Nelson, and to have that conversation with Bullseye afterwards.
I'm making a face, sir.
I imagine you are. Having that conversation with Bullseye afterwards is like her own undoing. Like you feel like she's making an active choice in that moment rather than
she's making a choice. Being pushed. This isn't like the literal fridging of Kyle Rayner's girlfriend.
Exactly. Yeah.
Who is literally just killed to cause Kyle Rayner grief. This is an execution to advance Bullseye's character, to
advance Matt's character, and to finish off Elektra's character, as it is right now, at least.
For now, yes.
Yeah.
And she also has agency, and what helps is she has agency in her death.
Yeah.
A lot of times fridgings are explicitly shocking, like the Killing Joke, the shooting of Barbara Gordon, is often considered a fridging because that is a shock value moment that is, especially within the context of the Killing Joke itself, is just there to serve the characters of Jim Gordon and Bruce Wayne.
Mhm. And that's not to say, of course, that there isn't shock value in Elektra's death. Of course, there is. It's a shocking moment.
But it isn't just shock value.
Yeah, for the sake of shock value. Yeah, absolutely. So
it's also a shock that it's not a sudden shock either. It's a shock that is building. It takes its time, and Miller does well enough to make the reader believe that it's also a fight that could have gone differently.
Yeah.
Like there's possibly a world where Elektra wins.
Yeah. Maybe if she hadn't had such an emotional confrontation with Frederick Stein Nelson before it, she might have been like in a more in her more natural state, like able to fight him to her fullest ability. There are a lot of things that could have gone different, but as it stands, Foggy. I said Foggy. God damn it! Matthew and his business associate go. They're there to see her body. And Matthew storms off after seeing that Bullseye is there as well to witness Matthew experience this. And as Bullseye is there, Matt doesn't run off, but Bullseye runs off after he throws a blade towards Matt, which Matt catches with his stick. What a badass moment.
Badass move, but that's also a bit of
probably impossible. But point being, it confirms Bullseye's suspicions
that Daredevil is Matt Murdock.
He literally goes running back to the Kingpin, and it says, "Hey, the fucking blind guy is Daredevil." And Kingpin has the rational reaction of fucking no. And Bullseye then goes to attack Matthew in his own home.
Well, what's interesting is that then Bullseye is like, right. Well, here is all my evidence. And Kingpin is like, this is still preposterous. You're just trying to, get back in my good graces as my chief assassin. And it's like, you can bring me Daredevil's body, and then we will do business.
What also I think I don't want to dwell on it for too much longer because we spent a lot of time on it, but also like the fact that there's so much story in this issue still to be told even after the death shows also how much this issue isn't just to kill off a female character. There's a story to be told here within it as well.
It's also for a double length issue. It's a double length issue with several pages that are just action with little to no actual words on the page.
You probably could have squeezed this all into a regular size issue. Yeah.
You would lose so much though.
True. Yeah. The issue is as good as it is almost because it's double length.
Yeah, because it's allowed to breathe.
Yeah.
And still feel jam packed.
Yeah.
Because Bullseye goes to the apartment of Matthew Murdock, where Matt is intelligent. He has set up a dummy of himself with a tape recording of himself.
Mm-hmm.
Reading some law, and Daredevil bursts in, and our fight begins.
Which you would think would confirm for Bullseye that Daredevil is Matt Murdock, but somehow after this fight that transpires, Bullseye is convinced now that Daredevil is not Matt Murdock.
Well, Bullseye never sees the dummy.
Yeah, he only sees the back and the recording and all.
Yeah, that. So yeah.
But it's still kind of funny. But yeah, you get a great fight scene, and once again, because this whole issue is from Bullseye's perspective, Miller doesn't let you peek into Matt's psyche. You're just kind of assuming it all based on what you're seeing from this outside perspective.
And you can assume a lot.
Yeah.
Especially since then there's this moment of, the Kingpin burning his file on Bullseye.
Because importantly, the fight that transpires between Daredevil and Bullseye eventually ends up like hanging off a ledge with Daredevil being the only thing holding him up, and Daredevil just fucking lets him drop.
Yeah. And yeah, it's
but
dark.
The Kingpin then burns the file on Bullseye. Matt visits Elektra's grave, and Bullseye is in a hospital, and that is where the issue ends. It's strong stuff. It's probably the best issue up to this point.
Oh, I mean, it is.
Yeah,
I think it's the best issue of the collection for me.
Yeah, of the whole run so far.
Yeah.
It's iconic for a reason. It's
coming
really
in with a
good.
close second is Daredevil 182, actually.
Yeah. This one hits almost just as hard in a very different way, though.
Yeah. And then 183 happens, and it gets weird.
It gets weird, but let's enjoy 182 while we're here.
Yes.
So if last issue was all about experiencing Matt's character arc through the eyes of somebody else, this is the Matthew Murdock show. Because man, he is going through some shit. We get this great opening page that is just a single photo, pretty much, of Matt Murdock with a thought bubble screaming, "She's alive!" And also, I totally neglected to mention the fucking cover. Okay. My God, this cover. If you don't know what the cover we're talking about, look up Daredevil 182. The cover is fucking next level.
It is amazing.
Yeah. And with the quote at the bottom too, for in that sleep of death what dreams may come. Just fucking perfect. Anyway, so Daredevil believes, almost on the basis that he lives in the world of comics, that Elektra's still alive somehow. Yeah. You could tell immediately that this is very different from when Frank Miller faked us out with Urich's death.
Because Matt, throughout this entire issue, was determined to prove that Elektra is alive.
Yeah. You could see him just desperately trying to convince himself that she's still alive somehow. It's rough to watch. All at the same time, you're also cutting over to prison for some reason.
The Punisher. Well, we're setting
up an issue that shouldn't exist.
An issue. This feels like editorial was like, "Hey, Frank, you know that issue that we never gave about a couple of years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we finished our research on it, so you're gonna have to publish it."
Yeah, under your name, edit it a little bit to be yours, pretty much. And if you could do like 2 issues of Punisher set up before it happens, that'd be great.
Yes. I mean, Roger McKenzie does get credited as a writer.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And I believe at that point in the McKenzie run, Miller was a co-plotter, so
yeah,
it was something Miller was interested in telling.
Mm-hmm. But there are definitely changes made to the issue when we get to
to fit. Yeah, so the Punisher in prison is basically setting up this idea that eventually with his lawyer, after beating up these guys, is this idea that, hey, there's a bunch of narcotics coming into New York, and I can get you out of here. You know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Deal with these narcotics for me, Mr. Castle. And then we cut over to Glen Industries. We haven't seen
where this subplot begins.
Yeah. Where they want to do some budget cuts, and Heather's like, well, I need to get my lawyer to look it over. And this man's like, well, yes, of course you can. But soon enough, Glen Industries will be ours. And then we get back to Matt Murdock's Sad Boy Hours.
Yes, where he is, for once, not letting out his frustrations on Turk, which I feel like this would be the perfect time to bring Turk into all this.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just beating up some people for the hell of it, pretty much.
Yeah. At his offices, he even he tells Becky the idea that he might be alive. And it's like maybe they have the wrong body. Oh, Foggy identified her. They checked all her dental records. Records can be changed, and then in walks Heather, who is,
dressed as has a cowboy hat on. This woman is I can't explain this woman. And yeah, she starts asking like, "Hey, who's this Elektra woman you keep asking about?" And
because it's like we have a date, remember?
And Matt kind of like lashes out at her because of it, and little Fiddlesticks Nelson is there to witness it all. And
bring in Mrs. Vanderleer, one of their clients.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, again, perfect soap opera end of Act 1 stinger of of Mrs. Vanderleer walking out kind of uneasy, and then Foggy's being like, "Matt, have you lost your mind?"
He just stands there, sad boy hours. I don't know, and that is.
And then we see the Punishers escape from prison, all done in silhouettes. It's very nice.
It's lovely. It's really nice.
And we build to Matt going to confront the Kingpin. And it's fascinating. It's this fascinating interplay. This moment where, the Kingpin could just have Matt killed.
Mm-hmm.
But he can't because he's curious. Why does he want Elektra? It's like it's also this very much idea like, you're not going to beat me senseless. And Fisk is right. Like,
yeah,
Matt's
not going to do shit right now.
To do it.
Yeah. Although, I don't know, maybe it wouldn't be entirely out of the question with where Matt's at right now.
Maybe not.
But
Matt
who knows?
Legal channels. He ends up getting Judge Coffin to call a sleeping Foggy, and
Mr. Flabbergast Nelson picks up the phone and begins getting dressed and leaving his wife once again. I wonder where the marital troubles went between these two.
Yes, very good question.
Anyway, Punisher then, meanwhile, is
killing some drug dealers.
Yep. Which, I mean, hey, good for him.
Good for him.
Yeah. Anyway, then, God, the most depressing scene of the issue happens and ends off the issue. Matthew is desperately just digging up Elektra's grave
because that was they got the judge's order to exhume the body. And they dig the grave. Matt opens the coffin, and there it is. Elektra, dead.
And she's still dead. Fisticuffs Nelson is there to comfort Matt in this moment.
The last 3 panels are particularly devastating.
Yeah.
Like
watching Fog.
You can call him Foggy this once. It's a serious moment.
Fezziwig Nelson pick up his friend, and as they walk away together from the grave. It's good. It's
Daredevil
so good.
183.
Yeah. Which, okay, on one hand, you were pretty bad last time that we missed out on a Punisher appearance issue.
Yeah, but also it comes right after this,
Yeah, and it feels really out of place. Because it is out of place. It literally is a misplaced issue.
Yes.
It shouldn't be here.
This is the PSA. This is the Don't Do Drugs Kid.
Which was delayed at the time because of the Comics Code Authority. Which, considering it was one of Mackenzie's last that he did, maybe the fact that they pulled it had something to do with him leaving the book. Who knows?
Maybe.
But still, Roger Mackenzie gets credited on it. It's changed a little bit to fit into what Miller is doing right now. And so here we are.
Some sort of time has to have passed between issues.
Yeah. Well, still that we could really rationalize the fact that there is a very clear disconnect with where Matt was at in the previous issue and where he's at right now. And again, I will say, it's just a really poor time to put the issue in here. I just
to make the recording, I ended up reading these last 3 issues back to back, which is fine.
Oh no! If you did maybe like the last 2 back to back, maybe that wouldn't have been as bad.
But there is tonal whiplash here.
Yeah, quite a lot. Damn.
So much so that like I started this issue, and I'm like, nope, I'm going to take a 30-minute break.
A wise decision. Yeah, it's weird. It's a good PSA, I guess.
Yeah, so
you can also tell that Roger Mackenzie wrote a lot of this issue because you don't really realize how much Miller cut back on Mackenzie's dialogue problem, but it's here.
It's here. So there's a lot. A kid is on angel dust and flings herself out the window. Matt is there to grab her as Daredevil. because he just happened to be doing a lawyer thing with these kids. He runs her to the hospital. She dies. One of her brother is incredibly angry, and we're going to track down these drug dealers, and that's the plot. Fuck you, Siri.
Yes, and that's the plot. The Punisher is also involved because
there's also a moment where Matt as Daredevil dresses up in a costume. Like,
yeah, it's a weird moment. But yeah, like so Punisher is also involved in this as sort of more like a red herring than anything. He's sort of set up as like the potential actual villain here, and it's not him.
Punisher's not a good person, but like he's not that type of a he's not that.
Yeah.
And like we end up going into court. We end up seeing Ben Urich about the Punisher. About, he's a vigilante that kills. We have some nice Daredevil Punisher fights. And Punisher's going to kill this man. And Daredevil ends up saving him. And, we eventually, end up ending essentially in court with the drug dealers with the drug dealers prosecuted. But the Punisher is kind of out to get Matt. And the issue then ends with Matt
asking his weird kind of toxic girlfriend to marry him.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the issue.
It's so weird.
It is.
I mean, there are worse PSAs out there, I'm sure.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily saying anything incorrect. So there's that at least.
There's a moment or two where I think it uses the whole weed as a gateway drug lie.
True.
Which is a bit out of date, but oh well.
I mean, it was a genuine belief at the time.
Yeah.
So, it's not like, I guess, Mackenzie and Miller aren't really like commenting on anything they knew any better about.
Yeah. So oddly enough, the more the issue goes on, the less PSA he gets, and the less like a PSA it gets, and the more interesting it gets.
Yeah, and I will say the following issue, the issue that ends the collection here, 184, does a fair bit to reconcile like the weird built-up relationship between Daredevil and Punisher.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess let's just get into the last issue here, 184, with total shock value cover that I'm so in love with. It's so good. Yeah, I can't fault this cover at all. It's beautiful.
So we're continuing with Hogman, our current drug dealer, with the Punisher ready to shoot him, and of course Daredevil swooping in at the last minute to stop this assassination because Daredevil is a lawyer who believes in the law. And we have this. We then again go to Heather, who is signing that paperwork
to with Glen Industries and all that. Meanwhile, actually, you know what? I love. Sorry, we get the courtroom scene first. Once you get with the drug dealers, and then you get that gorgeous bit with Matt picking up the phone for Heather, and I just love the page layouts with the telephone cord between them.
Yeah,
it's so good. I fucking love that. Yeah, it's awesome. But meanwhile, Matthew is still taking on the drug people here. I guess there's the coach from the school attacks him, and he's high here as well. And guessing he's not conscious or well enough to know what to catch that blind man fights him perfectly well. And then we cut over to that's right. Okay, so This issue's coming back to me, I swear.
This issue it's a lot of back and forth, and it's basically trying to reconcile the PSA that we just did.
Yeah.
And I think
it does what it can.
It does what it can. And I think it's basically trying to, like, if the last issue was kind of derailing, this one's trying to get us back on track.
Yeah. And actually, I do love the bit that comes up then afterwards, after Matt like successfully defends the guy here. Is basically like told by the guy himself that like, you know, he did the exact thing that Matt just defended him of not doing. So Matt goes after him then as Daredevil. I guess the Punisher involved, and that's pretty much where it closes off.
Yes, it's pretty much it. It ends
That's
there.
all it is. Yeah.
And you know,
we get a little tease about
are...
where Heather's whole plot with Glen Industries is going. But that's about that, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's not bad. It's not a bad issue. It's just
no.
You know, yeah. It just feels really weird coming off of that. Just that
emotional powerhouse.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, those last two issues feel really weird. The last issue feels almost even weirder, having to try to like clean up the kind of mess that was made of 183 coming in and doing what it apparently had to do. Like, I get not wanting to lose the issue because you have a basically completed issue that you want to still put into print.
It'll also basically give Miller some extra time to figure out where the run is going after that big emotional issue. It's just
yeah. We couldn't at least say like this happened a few months ago, you know?
Yeah,
like I don't know. I'd buy that. Like I'd be okay with that. You know?
Marvel is willing to skip issues if they have to do like fill in stuff. They did it last volume.
Yeah. It's just it's weird.
But
that is that. I do have to ask, actually, did you take a glance at all at the 5-hour newspaper interview with Frank Miller at the end?
I did not. I sadly did not have the time, but I will.
There's some cool stuff in there. I've never read the whole thing because it's fucking long.
It's long.
There's some cool stuff in there. Also, there's some little character bios at the back, which also kind of spoil where the Elektra thing is going. So I don't know if you looked at those at all.
I did not, but I will.
Okay.
I will avoid those.
Then avoid the character bios at the end. But yeah,
we did have adapted material.
We did have adapted material.
So Daredevil 2003
2003.
It's essentially an adaptation of bits of this run.
Just imagine, Jacob, you almost didn't watch this movie. How much less rich would your life have been if you hadn't watched Daredevil 2003 before this?
It would have. The loss of richness would have been negative. Yeah, it's so the theatrical cut is like 100 minutes long. The director's cut, which I watched, is 2 hours and 13 minutes.
Yeah, I think I've only ever seen the director's cut. I don't think I've ever seen the theatrical.
Yeah, so first off, so much of this film is filmed at Dutch angles.
Like, yeah. That's how you make comic books look, Jacob. Come on. That's how comic book panels go, apparently.
It's not it. Also, it flashes in between some of the like trying to be funny and trying to be super serious.
Yeah, mostly in the form of Colin Farrell.
Yeah. There's also
who,
just
like, you know, is a lovely actor. I love Colin Farrell. He's great, but he's not good for Bullseye, really.
No. There's also just like one of the early action sequences is set in Josie's, and instead of like a hole in the wall bar like Josie's is supposed to be, it's this giant expansive bar so they can have this elaborate fight sequence.
Yeah. Also, the fight sequences are shot so weird.
Oh my god, they aren't shot very well.
Yeah.
There's clearly thought going into the choreography of this film, but like Mark Steven Janson, the director, doesn't seem to know how to shoot that choreography.
Yeah. It's almost like they thought it out like too much. So much so that it doesn't make sense when you're showing it to the audience.
Yeah. There's also
that's it. I gotta bring up like the best thing about the film, which is Michael Clarke Duncan as the Kingpin.
Every time Michael Clarke Duncan is on screen,
which is not nearly enough.
Great. Oh my god, he's barely in it. But he's
great. So good. He's so
From his
good.
first
They
line,
do
he has a
this weird
presence.
plot line where apparently he killed Matt's dad.
Yeah,
It's a weird
that's
thing,
dumb, but
yeah. But I mean, like,
also
he's still great. He's fantastic.
oh my god, the guy playing Matt's dad is also just not good. Like Jennifer Gardner also is
not
not
good.
great.
Not good.
She,
Oh god.
she is reading lines.
I think so. I think.
Also, the meet cute between Matt and Elektra is somehow I was able to quote it as it was happening. I was like, I know exactly what the next line is going to be, and I don't think I should. Like, my God.
I have to ask, what do you think of the Daredevil costume in the movie?
Well, it's leather.
It is.
And I
can't imagine how else the early 2000s would have translated the costume as it appears on the page, you know?
I get it.
But nowadays it just kind of ends up looking like a CW costume.
You know what? Here's the thing. It feels like they saw what X-Men was doing with the leather suits. And it was like, well, I want to try to make it accurate to the comics. And it's like, there are ways to get away with spandex.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I always thought the costume just almost kind of worked.
Kind of. Almost. In places.
Occasionally.
It doesn't help that the way the way this film is shot is not cohesive at all. Like it's not cohesively shot. Again, everything's at Dutch angles. There's it's an interesting sort of gaze in general, especially the way that Ben Affleck is shot as Matt Murdock.
Yeah.
He and Ben Affleck is clearly trying.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's a fine actor, but I don't think he's necessarily right for this role.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of this film feels like they're trying to make a Batman movie, but they're working with Marvel,
which is really funny, of course, because Affleck as Batman.
Yeah,
Affleck's a very good Batman. I forget. You agree with that, right?
I find Ben Affleck's Batman interesting. I have my problems with the Snyder trilogy, but I think it's at least interesting. It's certainly a better performance, even in Whedon's Justice League and the theatrical cut of Batman v Superman, than whatever he's going for here.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
And there is an attempt. There's an attempt made.
I will say, one of the problems that I also had with watching this is half of the supporting cast is named after comics creators.
That I forgot about that.
Yeah, that I caught Bill Everett, Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Brian Michael Bendis, Joe Quesada, Mackenzie Miller, and a bunch of others. Like,
that is so weird.
John Romita. Romita is the name of who Jack Murdock is fighting, and it's like every time it keeps coming up. Like, it took me out of the film.
That makes sense. Yeah. I can't imagine it would add to the experience at all.
The only one that didn't was Romita, because that was a detail on a marquee.
Yeah.
Like that's like, oh, that's just a cool little Easter egg.
Yeah.
But when there's an extended court case involving a person called Jose Quesada,
yeah,
or Kevin Smith is playing forensic analyst Jack Kirby.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot.
Yeah.
No.
Kevin Smith is in this movie.
Oh, also, what's with the way the film does Ben Urich?
Yeah, he's gay for some reason.
Yeah. I mean, that's not the problem. But
the problem is that it's a gay stereotype.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Isn't also Mark Margolis in it? He makes a small appearance. I think he's like he's the guy that they think killed Jack Murdock before they do the Kingpin reveal.
Yeah, it's
But hey, at the end of the day, we got to watch Frank Miller die, and what more could you ask for? You could ask for a lot more from Daredevil 2003, but what more could you ask for? Anyway, I think that's that. It's over. We did it.
It's over. We did it.
Yeah.
We did it.
We have a much shorter book next time.
Shorter book next time. Plugs first. We need to do plugs.
Plugs. What do you got to promote, Jacob? Tell us all about it.
On my blog, I am also reviewing Star Trek. I am analyzing The Shadow Rising, though that's taking a slight break due to some personal circumstances. That's what I'm doing currently. Not as much.
That. You also read a Star Wars book recently.
I did.
You read The Rising Storm.
Was it a week or 2 weeks ago, maybe?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
these are all my fault, by the way. Whenever we mention that Jacob's reading a Star Wars book, it's because of me.
Yes. Well, we're doing a book exchange type thing. So
we are. Yeah.
So it's not just.
I'm not just like read my fucking obsession.
Yes.
But that said, on my side of things, also reviewing Star Trek. We just recently released The Paradise Syndrome. We're 3 episodes into Star Trek TOS Season 3, which is lovely. It's not because it's Season 3, but it's lovely. So we're doing that. Breaking Brian, we're once again still behind on the schedule. We're catching up with that. Better Call Saul Season 5 will be out at some point this month, I think. What else?
Damn Brian for getting sick.
R2PD. There's we're doing a Star Wars show now. Me and my brother. We're talking about Star Wars movies and shows and books and comics, and it's fucking awesome. Go check that out. It means a lot. We also got some wonderful art done for it. Which is just it's great. I'm really happy with it. It's a lovely time. So go check that out. The second episode of that will be out this month at some point. Again, can't set an exact date. It's a lot of editing goes into that one actually. So and otherwise, Fresh Face One Shots. We had just yesterday, at the time of this coming out, have released our Batman Brave and the Bold #7 review, which just came out this past week. So that's out. We've been talking about Superman by Joshua Williamson and Wonder Woman by Tom King. That's all out there. They're all great. Thankfully we haven't chosen any bad books really to be covering on these things. So that's good. I think that's it. That's the actual last.
That's it. So we will be jumping to Us in the Past to reveal the next book.
So we're gonna go pay attention to Past Us now and say hi to Frank Miller Nelson for me. Bye. Hi, friends. I'm just gonna assume that we have sufficiently explained the situation and we're here at the end
of days in the past.
Yes, at the end of this latest episode of Fresh Faced Comics that I'm sure was exhilarating and full of Frank Miller goodness. I don't fucking know what I'm saying. Anyway, okay, Jacob, are you ready to find out what we're covering in the next 2 episodes of Fresh Faced Comics?
I have some guesses, and I will probably mention this earlier in the podcast, but I do know we have a guest on those 2.
Yes, Mason should be joining us for the next.
Should be joining us.
So, yeah, that'll be fun.
As long as nothing crazy happens with any of our schedules, which is possible.
True. But yeah, so we're moving into our early 2000s comics. What are you guessing?
My guess is very probably Captain America by Ed Brubaker.
Okay, are you locking that in?
I'm gonna lock that in. Yeah.
All right, you don't sound super confident actually, despite locking it in.
Yeah, I'm locking it in. Look, we are at for the first 3 decades. I had solid guesses. I'm like,
you did, and you were right every time.
This one, I'm like, I know this is a run that you are really enjoying, and it's
a great run. It's a great run.
Iconic.
It's an extremely long run. I do regret to inform you that you're wrong, though.
Oh, I'm wrong. Okay,
you're wrong. Next time on Fresh Face Comics, we are in fact covering Planet Hulk.
By
Greg Pak, or rather, the first of our 2 episodes we're going to do the Planet Hulk prelude. Then in the second episode we're going to do Planet Hulk itself.
Okay, that's why you told me the episodes are going to be weirdly split.
So like the first one is only like 7 issues for the prelude, and then the actual story is 16 issues long. So it's we've got simultaneously not a lot and then a lot on our plate. So Hulk, it's Hulk time. We're actually gonna get some good Hulk content in here.
Now I've got to figure out what the hell my guess is going to be for the last.
Yeah, 2010s.
Decade.
2010s is probably actually going to be your hardest guess. But I guess we'll see. So yeah, I'm going to assume. We should probably do the outro in this section too, shouldn't we? I'm assuming we've plugged everything already. I think. I guess that's how that'll go.
That'll probably go.
If we plug everything.
If we haven't,
and then future us is gonna like send it over to past us here, where we do the outro. This is so weird. Okay, we just decided to do this today, by the way. So anyway,
we did it today because my schedule is starting to become a bit of a mess near the end of the year.
Scheduling's a bitch. It's all good. We got this. Don't worry. So be sure to join us. Thank you all so much for listening. That's what I mean. Next time when we continue our Marvel block with the Incredible Hulk, I'm very excited about it. Check us out then. Be sure to join us next week. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, this has been Joey Morgan.
And Jacob Licklider.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.